Imagine waking up every day with the feeling that something is missing, as if a dense fog covers your mind, obscuring your view of what really matters. Have you ever felt this way? Chasing the hours but never achieving true peace? Running after tasks, commitments, goals, but, deep down, always with the feeling that something essential is out of reach? What you need to understand is that mastering your days is not about doing more, but rather about doing what really matters. It is not a question of quantity, but of quality. If you've ever found yourself wondering why time seems to slip through your fingers, why inner peace is so hard to achieve, then you're in the right place. Because today, we're going to talk about the only things you really need to do to take charge of your day, every day. Think about the last time you felt that your day was truly productive, but not just in the sense of accomplishing tasks, but in the sense of feeling complete, at peace with your choices. When was the last time you ended your day with a genuine smile, knowing that no matter the challenges, you were in control, in tune with what matters most? If that feeling feels like a distant memory, or worse, an illusion you've never experienced, get ready. What I'm going to share with you is not just another list of superficial tips, but a way to turn your days into something you really want to live. Our time is our most precious resource. And yet, many of us waste it, not for lack of effort, but for lack of direction. Most people are so busy being busy that they forget what it means to really live. They get lost in a tide of responsibility, always reacting but rarely acting with purpose. Have you ever felt this way? As if life is happening to you, instead of being created by you? Today, we are going to tear away the veil of illusion that makes us believe that we need to be always busy in order to be successful. Let's explore together what it means to truly master your days, so that by the end of each one, you've not just crossed items off a list, but you've lived with purpose, with meaning. I will guide you along a path of conscious choices, of actions that really make a difference. And by the end, you'll realize that true time mastery isn't about filling every minute, it's about choosing wisely how to live each minute. The awakening. Today we are going to talk about something that, when understood and put into practice, can transform your life in a way you may never have imagined, the awakening of your inner potential. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you let a day go by without really living it? How many times have you felt stuck in a rut, in an endless cycle of tasks and responsibilities, only to reach the end of the day with that feeling of emptiness, as if something vital had been left behind? It is as if something inside you is constantly waiting to be awakened, but for some reason, you cannot find the key to release it. What you need to understand is that within each of us there is a dormant potential, a powerful force that, when awakened, can lead us to achievements that seem beyond our reach. But here's the secret, this force doesn't awaken on its own. It needs to be activated, it needs to be nurtured, and, above all, it needs to be put into action. And that's exactly what Stoicism teaches us, not to allow our days to pass in vain, but to take action, to take the reins, and to turn every moment into an opportunity for growth and fulfillment. Stoicism offers us practical tools to awaken this potential. It teaches us that we can't control everything that happens around us, but we can control how we react and, more importantly, the way we choose to act. Every moment is a choice. You can choose to let life happen to you, or you can decide that you are the author of your own story. The question is, which path will you choose? As we dive into the journey of awakening the potential within, we begin to realize that this transformation cannot happen in a vacuum. It needs something concrete, something that we all possess but often neglect, the present. This is where Stoicism, with its age-old wisdom, teaches us a fundamental lesson. While the future is uncertain and the past is unchanging, the present is all we have, and this is exactly where the real power of transformation lies. Think for a moment about how you usually face your days. How many times do you find yourself thinking about what happened yesterday, dwelling on mistakes, reliving moments that have passed? And how many times do you worry about tomorrow, about what may or may not happen, projecting fears and anxieties into a future that has not yet arrived? When we live like this, we are, in fact, wasting the only resource that really matters, the now. Stoicism reminds us that the gift is a gift, a priceless commodity that we should not treat with neglect. Every day, every moment is a unique opportunity, a blank page waiting to be written with intention and purpose. And, contrary to what many believe, living in the present does not mean ignoring the past or the future, but rather focusing on what we can control now. It is this practice that connects us with our true inner strength and allows us to face life with a clear mind and a determined heart. When you begin to treat each day as a valuable gift, something changes within you. Anxiety decreases, because you realize that you cannot control the future, but you can choose how you will act in this moment. The weight of regret is lightened, because you understand that the past cannot be changed, but the present is in your hands. Imagine, for example, that you are on an ordinary day, facing the usual challenges and responsibilities. You can choose to get lost in worries about what might go wrong tomorrow or let yourself be paralyzed by the memories of past mistakes. But you can also choose to focus on what's within your reach right now. Ask yourself, what can I do at this very moment that brings me closer to my goals? How can I act now in a way that brings peace and purpose? This shift in perspective is powerful. It gives you the freedom to live more lightly, knowing that you are doing your best with what you have, here and now. And little by little, you begin to realize that by mastering the present, you are also shaping your future. Every small action, every decision made with intention, builds a life that reflects your true values and aspirations. When we focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our reactions, we are actually building the foundation for a more balanced and meaningful life. Each day becomes a new opportunity to grow, to learn, to be the best version of ourselves. So, from now on, I invite you to face each new day as the present that it is. Don't waste your time on what's past or what hasn't happened yet. Focus on the now, and you'll see how this simple practice can transform your life. Because, in the end, the present is all we have, and it is in it that we find the power to create the life we truly want to live. All of us, at some point, come across obstacles that seem insurmountable, situations that test us to the limit, making us question our capabilities and our strength. But it is exactly in these moments that we have the opportunity to grow, to transform ourselves, to discover who we really are. Stoicism teaches us a powerful truth: the challenges we face are not enemies to be feared, but masters to be respected. Each difficulty, each obstacle, carries with it a lesson, a chance for personal development. If we stop to reflect, we will realize that it is precisely in the most difficult situations that our greatest virtues are forged. Courage, resilience, patience, all of them were born in the fire of adversity. Think about a recent difficulty you faced. Maybe it was a problem at work, a family crisis, or even an internal battle against your own fears and insecurities. At this point, you had two options: let yourself be weighed down by the weight of the challenge or use it as a springboard for your growth. When you start to face challenges in this way, something magical happens. What once seemed insurmountable turns into a stepping stone in your journey of self-discovery and overcoming. And instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What can I learn from this?" This simple change in mindset can completely transform the way you live your life. Let's face it, life will never be free of challenges. There will be moments of pain, of loss, of uncertainty. But it is precisely in these moments that we have the chance to show what we are really made of. Stoicism reminds us that we don't control what happens to us, but we do control how we react to those situations. And that choice, to respond to challenges with courage and determination, is what defines our character. Let's bring this to everyday life. Imagine that you are facing a problem at work, something that is out of your control and that seems overwhelming. Instead of despairing, what would happen if you decided to see this problem as an opportunity to grow, to learn something new, to strengthen your resilience? Wouldn't that be a much more powerful way of looking at the situation? And more, wouldn't this be a way to turn an obstacle into a personal victory? Stoicism teaches us that challenges are inevitable, but our reaction to them is a choice. And it is this choice that determines whether we will be victims of circumstances or the authors of our own stories. By facing challenges head-on, with an attitude of learning and growth, you not only overcome difficulties but also become a better version of yourself. So, the next time you run into an obstacle, remember, this is an opportunity in disguise. A chance to practice patience, to exercise resilience, to strengthen your courage. Every challenge you face is an opportunity for personal growth, and by overcoming it, you'll be one step closer to realizing your true potential. When we talk about overcoming challenges, we realize that every obstacle faced in life is an opportunity to strengthen ourselves, to grow internally. But there's something even deeper to explore, something that really defines how we respond to these challenges: the power of choice. Yes, it is our ability to decide, to make conscious decisions, that truly shapes the course of our lives. Think for a moment about how you have been reacting to the events around you. How many times, faced with a difficult situation, have you felt like a leaf in the wind, being carried to and fro by circumstances, with no control over what was happening? And how many times, perhaps without realizing it, have you made decisions that didn't reflect your true values or desires, simply because it was easier to go with the flow than to resist and choose a different path? When we make conscious decisions, when we act according to our principles, we are actually exercising the greatest possible form of freedom. We are choosing how to live our lives, rather than allowing circumstances to choose for us. There is a story that illustrates this idea well. Imagine a man who, after losing everything in a natural disaster, is forced to start over from scratch. He could well give in to despair, let himself be overwhelmed by tragedy, and allow that experience to define the rest of his life. But instead, he chooses to react differently. He decides that, despite everything, he still has control over his choices. He can rebuild, he can start over, and, most importantly, he can decide not to be a victim of circumstance, but rather the author of his own story. This is the essence of Stoicism, the belief that no matter what, we always have the power to choose how to respond. And this choice, this force of choice, is what frees us from the bonds of fate. We are not mere spectators of our own life, we are the creators, the architects, and every decision we make brings us one step closer to becoming the person we want to be. In everyday life, this can manifest itself in very simple but extremely powerful ways. Imagine, for example, that you are stuck in terrible traffic, and stress starts to take over. Most of us, by instinct, would let our mood get affected, allowing frustration to dominate the rest of the day. But what if, at that very moment, you decided that you won't let traffic control your state of mind? What if, instead, you chose to use this time to reflect, to listen to a podcast that inspires, or simply to practice patience? This simple decision of how to respond to an ordinary situation may seem small, but it is actually a powerful exercise in freedom. And the more we practice this, the stronger our ability to choose, to consciously decide how to live our lives, regardless of external circumstances. When we talk about the strength of choice, we're not just talking about big decisions, like changing careers or starting a new relationship. We're talking about the power we have in every moment of our lives, in every little decision we make. We're talking about the freedom that comes from not letting circumstances dictate our reactions, but rather from choosing how we want to live. Stoicism gives us the tools to do so, constantly reminding us that even if the world around us is out of our control, our answers are always within reach. And it is this daily practice, this ongoing awareness, that leads us to a life of purpose and meaning. When we talk about the power of choice, about how each decision we make shapes our reality and defines who we are, a question naturally arises: what happens when the choices we make put us face to face with challenges that seem insurmountable? This is where one of the most powerful concepts of Stoicism comes in: growth through struggle. It is in this confrontation with difficulties that our true character is forged, that the inner hero that we all carry begins to emerge. Imagine for a moment the stories of the great heroes, those who inspire us so much, whether in fiction or in real life. What do they all have in common? They faced extraordinary challenges, obstacles that many of us would never have had the courage to face. And it is exactly this struggle, this constant battle against adversity, that transforms them into examples of strength and resilience. It is not the moments of peace that shape a hero, but the moments of crisis. Now, bring that idea into your own life. How many times have you come across a situation that seemed impossible to overcome? A time when everything around you was falling apart and you felt small in the face of the greatness of the problem? Maybe it was a painful loss, a financial crisis, or even an internal challenge, such as dealing with your own fears and insecurities. It is in these moments, exactly in these moments of struggle, that you have the opportunity to grow, to transform yourself, to discover a strength that you did not even know you had. Just as a metal is forged by fire, our spirit is shaped by the adversities we face. Every struggle, every obstacle, is an opportunity for growth. And instead of running away from these struggles, we must face them head-on, with courage and determination, knowing that it is through them that we become stronger, wiser, more human. Bringing this reflection into everyday life can transform the way you face your own challenges. Instead of seeing difficulties as enemies, start seeing them as opportunities in disguise. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? How can this struggle make me a better person? By doing so, you not only change your perspective, but you also activate an inner strength that you may not have even known existed. And here's the beauty of Stoicism: it teaches us that life isn't about avoiding pain or hardship, but about using those experiences to grow, to evolve. Each challenge overcome is one more step towards developing your true potential. And as you move forward, you begin to realize that these struggles were not obstacles in your path, but rather essential parts of your journey, elements that shape the person you are becoming. So, face the fight with courage, knowing that, regardless of the outcome, you will come out stronger, wiser, more prepared to face the challenges ahead. Because, at the end of the day, it's not the easy victories that define us, but the battles we face and the strength we find in the midst of adversity. As we delve deeper into the idea of growth through struggle, we begin to realize that every challenge, every obstacle we face, is not only a test of our strength, but also a gateway to something even deeper, the journey of self-discovery. It is in this process of facing difficulties that we begin to discover who we really are, what we are capable of, and what is the true purpose that moves us. Imagine, for a moment, a person who is faced with a great challenge. It can be a life or death situation, a personal crisis, or a moment of extreme doubt about the path forward. At this critical point, when everything seems to be at stake, something incredible can happen. The true nature of that person begins to emerge. We are not only talking about physical survival, but the survival of the soul, of the spirit. It is in this instant that we often discover an inner strength that we never suspected we had, an ability to resist, to fight, and to overcome that completely redefines our view of ourselves. This is the essence of the journey of self-discovery. Each time we face a difficulty and overcome it, we are not only strengthened, we are also revealed. We discovered layers of our being that were hidden, dormant potentials that only the pressure of challenge can awaken. And it is in this process that we get closer to our essence, to our truest and most authentic self. But this journey is not something that happens all at once. It is a continuous search, a pilgrimage that lasts a lifetime. There is no end point, but a constant evolution, a movement towards excellence. This search for self-knowledge is, in many ways, the search for virtue itself. When we truly know ourselves, when we understand our strengths and weaknesses, our passions and fears, we begin to act in a way that is more aligned with our values. And it is in this alignment that we find true virtue. Virtue, in this context, is not something imposed from without, but something that springs from within, as the natural result of a life lived with authenticity and purpose. An example of this can be found in the stories of figures such as Socrates, who dedicated his life to exploring know thyself. For him, self-knowledge was the path to wisdom, and wisdom was the path to virtue. Socrates believed that by understanding who we really are, we can make more conscious decisions, act more justly, and live more fully. But how does this apply to us, on a daily basis? How can we, in practice, embark on this journey of self-discovery and search for virtue? The first step is to adopt a posture of constant reflection. This means, before automatically reacting to situations, taking a moment to ask yourself, what is this situation teaching me about myself? How can I respond to that in a way that reflects my deepest values? This type of questioning not only helps us deal better with challenges, but also brings us closer to who we really are. And as we do this over and over again, we begin to build a life that is not only lived, but that is lived with purpose and meaning. The journey of self-discovery is therefore both a challenge and a reward. It is challenging because it demands of us a brutal honesty, a willingness to face the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. But it's also rewarding because, at the end of each stage of this journey, we become a little more aware, a little wiser, a little closer to excellence. As we explore the journey of self-discovery, where each challenge reveals new layers of who we are and brings us closer to true virtue, we are inevitably led to an even deeper reflection, the fragility of time. If there is one thing that we all share, regardless of our struggles or achievements, it is the transience of life. Every second that passes, every moment we live, is an instant that will never return. And it is precisely this brevity, this ephemeral nature of time, that should awaken us to the urgency of living fully. Imagine for a moment that you have an hourglass in your hands, and the falling sand represents the time of your life. You don't know how much sand is left at the top of the hourglass, but one thing is for sure, with each grain that falls, less time is left for you. Stoicism reminds us that life is finite and that, in the face of this reality, the biggest mistake we can make is to live as if we had all the time in the world. How many times do we postpone our dreams, our deepest desires, thinking that tomorrow will be a better day, more suitable to act? But tomorrow is uncertain, and the only moment we really have is now. This understanding, although deep, often only becomes visceral when we are confronted with death, whether ours or that of someone close to us. It is in these moments of loss that we feel, in all its intensity, the weight of transience. The pain of saying goodbye, the realization that there will be no other opportunity to say what needed to be said, to do what needed to be done, leads us to an inescapable truth: every moment is too precious to be wasted. Stoic philosophy invites us to live each day as if it were our last. This does not mean living in a state of despair, but rather with a full awareness of the value of each moment. It is the practice of memento mori, a constant reminder of mortality that is not meant to frighten us, but to awaken us. To awaken us to life, to the need to enjoy every minute with purpose, to love with intensity, to act with courage, to be authentic in every word and gesture. Think about the people around you, the opportunities that arise daily and that we often let go unnoticed. How much time do you dedicate to them? How much of yourself do you truly give to each interaction, to each task, to each dream? Living fully does not mean filling every second with frenetic activities, but rather being present, being intentional in everything you do. It is the quality of time, not just quantity, that defines the depth of our existence. There are stories of people who, upon receiving a diagnosis of terminal illness, radically change their way of living. Suddenly, the fragility of time becomes palpable, and each day that was once taken for granted is now lived with renewed intensity. What these people discover, in fact, is a secret that is available to all of us, all the time: life is now. And it is our responsibility, and privilege, to live it with all possible meaning. So, as you move forward, remember, every decision you make, every action you take, is an expression of how you choose to spend the time you have left. Living fully is not an option, but a necessity. Because time, this fragile and precious resource, is constantly slipping through our hands. And at the end of the day, when we look back, we won't be judged by what we planned, but by what we actually did with the time we were given. And so, with a deep awareness of our own mortality, we are called to make every moment count. Because, as the poet Horace said, "Carpe diem, seize the day, seize the present." Don't wait for tomorrow to be who you want to be or to do what needs to be done. Time is short, and life is now. The only certainty we have is that time continues to pass, and every second is a unique chance that never comes back. Live with intensity, love without reservation, and make each day count, because life, with all its fragility and beauty, deserves to be lived to the fullest. And when the last grain of sand falls, may you look back and say with conviction, "I lived." If you like this video and want to continue exploring topics that really transform the way you see life, be sure to check out the other content on the channel. Each video is an opportunity to deepen your understanding of philosophy, self-knowledge, and personal development. Believe me, the knowledge you will acquire can completely change your perspective and open new doors for inner growth. So, don't waste time. Watch the other videos and discover the power these ideas have to transform your journey.